The watchdog agency created to keep an eye on campaign and lobbying laws at City Hall was under the microscope this week. Questions were raised about the conduct of the City of San Diego's Ethics Commission after it levied fines against elected officials. We put San Diego attorney Bob Otterly on the record about his experience with the commission. Otterly is also Councilwoman Marty Emerald's attorney, one of the officials fined.
You know, 30 years ago, we didn't have a citizens review board to review police actions. And part of what we learned in the community is that if we're going to have effective policing, it has to be community policing. People have to like the police. So when I first came to town 31 years ago, you'd go into an ethnic community, low-income community, or a beach community where the crime takes place generally, and you'd find that hardly anybody liked the police because they felt they were being mistreated by the police. So what we've done is we've tried to improve that because we realize that the victims of crime, the witnesses of crime, the people that are going to help you solve crime have to like you if they want to work with you. And we're starting to see the same problems with the Ethics Commission. It's been weakened because they have alienated themselves from most of the people that they work with or interact with, and that's what's hurting our Ethics Commission most.
We also spoke to Stacy Fullhurst, Executive Director of the San Diego Ethics Commission. Here's what she had to say about how Ethics Commission investigators conduct themselves during investigations.
I think it's fair to say that Ethics Commission investigators are in a uniquely difficult position as investigators, in that obviously the public expects the Commission investigators to be thorough, to be diligent, and to be willing to ask tough questions that need to be asked in order to gather the appropriate facts. Having said that, of course, they are in a politically charged environment with people who are extremely sensitive to being even under investigation, let alone to the potential outcome. The vast majority of people simply make mistakes, and that's why we place education first. But it is undeniable that enforcement and the levying of fines serves a very important purpose in terms of deterrence. If it is common knowledge amongst people who engage in lobbying and campaign activities in San Diego that certain types of violations will result in a hefty fine, that serves a very important purpose.
JW, the allegations that arose this week really had to do with bullying by Commission investigators.
Correct.
Was this clash inevitable given the role of the Commission?
I think so. There comes a time when, I remember when the Commission was formed, we need the Commission then, we need the Commission now. There's no doubt about that. That was a bad time when Mayor Murphy formed the Commission. But I do think, first for honesty's sake, I did work with Marty Emerald for many years, and Bob Otterly was my attorney. But I've also respected the work of the Ethics Commission since day one, because I think they do a good job for the most part. But there are, Ms. Emerald raises some issues that we need to be thinking about. And I salute her for being the only sitting council person to ever say, hey, we need to stop and take a look at this.
She wants a hearing. This is the first council member to actually demand a hearing.
Right. I think what you've got is good people on both sides, but I think the system itself is broken, and they need to address some issues with the structure of the Ethics Commission, how they fund it, who picks the commissioners, all those need to be looked at again now.
Let's talk about that. Who picks these commissioners and who funds these commissioners? City Hall.
Well, Mayor and and the City Council. And so, that's an issue that we have to evaluate. I think that we have to decide, though, are these problems or concerns or discomfort with the Commission and the way it's doing its job, or are they discomfort with the actual laws that the City Council itself passed? You know, these are very complex campaign finance and disclosure laws. Each of them have a very sincere purpose behind them, but they are difficult to enforce. And if we have a body to enforce them, it's going to necessarily cause these kind of conflicts. And I think that the fact that they've, Otterly says they've alienated themselves from the rest of the City Hall, well, that's exactly what an entity like this is going to do. It's going to rub them wrong. Now, should we reevaluate those laws? Are they too complex for people to even consider running for office without somebody like Otterly to represent them? I think that's an issue we have to deal with because they are extremely complex. I would think twice. A lot of people would think twice about ever, getting into a race like that just because they're so hard. they are the laws. And if you have an enforcement agency, then I think you have to support their efforts.
This city council, though, has also refused to grant the panel additional subpoena power or to make it illegal to lie to the commission staff. So how is this a city council that really wants this kind of commission, that believes in this kind of commission enough so that it's going to back it?
No question, city council has become hostile to the ethics commission, that they believe that they're out of line, that they've gone too far, and that this is their way of punishing them, whether it's through their budget or whatnot. Now the question but this is also an ethics commission that's disproportionately low funded compared to its peers around the state. And I think that, again, you don't want these laws, then come up with some other laws. But otherwise, this is the responsibility that you have with it. That doesn't mean that they couldn't perhaps reevaluate how they approach their targets of their investigation. But also, when you underfund an investigative unit like that, they're going to have to do things like lotteries and random audits that Ms. Emerald's uncomfortable with, just because they have no other way to comprehensively do all of them right now.
JW, do we have to reevaluate how they're appointed or who appoints them? Should we take that out of the hands of City Council?
Absolutely. Donna Fry, Carl DeMaio had a great idea. Why not get the presiding judge and 2 other judges pick the commission? Why not rebuild, instead of this patchwork of laws that have grown up over time that the Ethics Commission has had to enforce, let's look at ground zero, rebuild a structure, have a bright line so we know exactly what the rules are. They're understandable, even for maybe if I'm going to run, I wouldn't run for office now. I'd be afraid because I'd have to hire a couple attorneys and I couldn't afford to do it because I don't know where I'd be stumbling around. I think probably one of the biggest problems is semantics. If the Ethics Commission issues a report, you are therefore unethical. What one could be very simple thing, other is people hiding money. I mean, they are needed because there are people who try to take advantage of the system. But not all ethics commissions involve unethical people.
We'll have to leave it there. Thank you. JW, Managing Editor, 10 News, and Scott Lewis, CEO, voiceofsandiego.org.